Good day, ma'am. We are the group 1. We are selected to present the PowerPoint about prenatal stage. Before I start this reporting, I would like to introduce my group mates. First, Christian James Tinacqua, it's me, Sherilyn Luran, Elroche, Chris Anthony Tiduria, Anuela Babasol, and lastly, Miss Jessica A. Pederna. Prenatal stage development. So, what is prenatal stage development? The term natal in the word prenatal means birth. Prenatal development starts with fertilization, in the germinal stage of embryonic development, and continues in fetal development until birth. So, ang prenatal stage daw comes from the word prenatal means birth. So, di anak. Prenatal development, nagsugod ang prenatal development sa fertilization o pagbulos sa atong mother. In germinal stage of embryonic development and continuous fetal development until birth. So, ang atong mother nagfertile ng nagbudos dayon hantod sa kita iyanak. Okay, next slide. Development of learners at various stages. Prenatal development. So as we see in the picture, there is a mother who's fertile and have child in his anak siyang siyang tiyan. Ug hinay og process until sa nabuo na og bata. Introduction. All the development theories which we lengthily discussed dwell on the development process after birth. None of them was concerned with that development went on birth. To make the description of human development complete, it may good to understand the beginning of a child and the adolescence. So, para may balaan ginato kung asa gikan ng bata, dapat ato sang studyhan about ning prenatal stage. Taman sa pagkadako o sa pagkadalaga niya. Life before birth. The development of the unborn child. The development of human life in the womb was once a mystery. But science, the medicine have changed that. Abortion advocates still try to dehumanize the developing baby in the womb of speaking of the child as a blob of tissue or uterine contents, but ultrasound images, prenatal surgery, and other advances of obstetrics are shattering the blob of tissue myth. So, life before birth. Ang nagpasabot ni siya nga murag naburos siya sa tiyan sa mother. So, tungod sa pagburos sa mother, natay gipanggamit nga para makita ang bata sa tiyan kanang firm na, di ba usually pagkuan nang kaburos sa mama wadto nag hospital kay para mo-ultrasound. Walay kuan katinudanan nga kuan ka na mga kuan gid ang bata ka na mailan gid sa tiyan, pero tungod sa science na buot ni siya possible gamit ang ultrasound images, prenatal surgery, and other advancement in obstetrics and shattering the blob tissue of myth. So next slide. Dr. Paul Rockwell, as a New York physician, made these profound observations after his amazing encounter with a tiny unborn baby boy. 11 years ago, while I was giving an anesthetic of a ruptured ectopic pregnancy, at 2 months gestation, I was handed what I believe ever seen. The embryo sac was intact and transparent. Within the sac was a tiny human mix swimming extremely vigorous in the amniotic fluid, which attached to the wall by the umbilical cord. So, isa ka doktor daw si Dr. Paul Rockwell nga taga New York City nga usa ka physician. Tungod sa iyang kadugayan sa doktor, naka-observe siya sa isa ka gamay nga bata nga unborn. So wala kay natarang og develop sa tiyan sa mother. So na-amaze siya kay nganong karon pa sa nakita gingani. Tungod sa kadugay yun yan sa 11 years nga kuan siya kanang anesthetic nga from gatre o ga tamal sa mga pregnancy karon pa siya nakita nga ni, so na-shock siya. So dili na conclude nga dili day tanan pareha nagya po yung unborn baby, dili tanan perfect nga na form sa tiyan sa mother. So next,
Life before birth. Development of the unborn child. The development of human life in the womb was once a mystery, but science and medicine have changed that. Abortion advocates still try to dehumanize the developing baby in the womb, speaking of the child as a lump of tissue or uterine contains, but ultrasound image, prenatal surgery, and others advanced in the obstetrics are the sheltering and the bulb tissue mite. Dr. Paul Rock, a New York physician, made this profound observation after his amazing encounter with a tiny unborn baby boy. He said, 11 years ago, while I was giving an anesthetic for a rupture economic pregnancy at 2 months gestation, I was handed what I believe ever since. The embryo sac was intact in the transparent. Within the sac was a tiny human make a swimming extremely vigorously in the amniotic fluid, while attached to the hole by the umbilical cord. Abstraction. Human life begins a conception, that which in the mother womb in dead, developing human being. An unborn baby of the 8 weeks is not instantly different from the one of 18 weeks or the 28 weeks. From the concept of the zygote, the embryo and the fetus are the undeniably human life. Human life begins in the moment of conception. All that we have and all that we are have been there in the moment of the conception. The fact that you have brown eye and black, straight and curly hair, and the foot that you will turn into the bald and the age of 50 have been there already in a moment of the conception. What was the added of the process of the development of the nutrients? Development is divided into 3 periods: the germinal, the embryonic, and the fetal. Germinal is 0 to 2 weeks, and the embryonic is 3 to 8 weeks, and the fetal is the 9 weeks birth. Germinal period, 1st to 2 weeks after concept. This includes the creation of zygote, contains cell division, and the attachment of the zygote to the uterine wall. The following are the details of development during this period. A is 24 to 30 hours after fertilization. The male sperm and the female chromosomes unit. This picture has you seen that germinal period have 24 to 30 hours after the fertilization.
So, by the way, the ovum or the zygote is the fertilized egg cell, and this results from the union of a female gamete, which is the egg cell, and with a male gamete, which is the sperm cell. And so during the next 36 hours, as you can see in the image, the fertilized ovum or the zygote divides into 2 cells. And in the next 2 days or during 48 hours after fertilization, the 2 cells become 4 cells. And in the next 72 hours or in 3 days, the 4 cells become a small compact ball of 16 to 32 cells. And the cell is having a dense structure that is closely packed or joined, as what you can see in the image that is shown. And the next figure during the next 96 hours or in 4 days, the cell that was previously compact in form becomes a hollow ball of 64 to 128 cells, and it becomes a mass of cells, now called a blastocyst, begins to subdivide, forming a sphere with two layers of cell around a hollow center. And so let's define what is a blastocyst again. So a blastocyst is the name for the mass of cells from roughly 4 to 10 days after fertilization. Okay, so in 4 to 5 days, the inner cell mass or the blastocyst is still free from the uterus. And the blastocyst has three main parts, which is the trophoblast, inner cell mass, or the embryoblast, and the blastocele. And let me define to you these three main parts. The first one is the trophoblast. It is a thin layer of cells that helps a developing embryo attach to the wall of the uterus, and it protects the embryo and forms a part of the placenta. And the next one is the inner cell mass or the embryoblast. It is in any form of the germinal disc cells of the inner cell mass in the blastocyst that form the embryo. Germinal disc is also a part of the embryo. And the last one is the blastocele. It is the fluid-filled cavity which is located in the center or inside the blastocyst.
Number 2, embryonic period. So it is 2 to 8 weeks after conception. In this stage, the name of the mast cell zygote become embryo. So the term embryo and fetus both refer to the developing baby inside the mother's womb or uterus. So what is the difference between zygote and embryo? So a zygote is defined as the union of male gamete and female gamete during the fertilization process. On the other hand, an embryo is defined as the unborn offspring that is under development. So an embryo has been derived from the Greek word embryon, meaning embryo or fetus. So the following developments takes place in cell differentiation intensifies, life support system for the embryo develop, and organs appear. So this is the letter A, which is the cell differentiation intensifies. So it is 3.5 millimeter in 25 days or 3.5 weeks. So the beginning of the third week after conception marks the start of the embryonic period, a time when the mass of cells become distinct as a human. So the embryonic period stage plays an important role in the development of the brain. And then the letter B, this is 1. Life support system for the embryo develop. So the fetus or embryo is 10 millimeter in 36 days or 5 weeks. So around that week, the head begins to form quickly, followed by the eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. So the blood vessel that will become the heart pulse. So during the 5th week, buds that will form the arms and legs appear. And then the letter C, organs appear. It is 30 millimeter in 56 days or 8 weeks. So by the 8th week of development, the embryo has all of the basic organs and parts except those sex organs. So let's proceed to the 3 primary germ tissues. So the ectoderm forms the exoskeleton, mesoderm develops into organs, and endoderm forms the inner lining of organs. So the embryo endoderm, the inner layer of cells develops in the digestive and respiratory system. So the outer layer of cells is divided into two parts, the ectoderm and the mesoderm. So the ectoderm is the outermost layer, which becomes the nervous system, sensory receptors, eyes, ears, and nose. Also the skin parts, which is nails and hair. And let's go to the next page. So the mesoderm is the middle layer, which becomes circulatory, skeletal, muscular, excretory, and reproductive system. So the process of organ formulation during the first 2 months of prenatal development is called organogenesis. So this is the mesoderm. Oh, okay. This one. Dili na ako maklaro. And then, let's proceed to the next page. So, as the three layers of the embryo form, the support system for the embryo develop rapidly. These life support system are the placenta, the umbilical cord, and the amnion. So, the placenta is a life support system that consists of disc-shaped group of tissue in which small blood vessels from the mother and the offspring intertwine but do not join. So the umbilical cord contains two arteries and one vein that connects the baby to the placenta. The amnion is a bag or an envelope that contains a clear fluid in which the developing embryo floats. So all these embryo life support system developed from the fertilized egg and not from the mother's body.
Good day, ma'am. With the continuation of our report, I am here to discuss about the final period of prenatal development, which is the fetal period. Growth and development continue dramatically during this period from 2 to 7 months after conception. Both internal and external features continue to grow. This period is mapped with continued development and the differentiation of structure that emerged during embryonic period and now refine and grow into a final form. Very few structure actually occurs during the period of the fetus. It is during this period the origin of motor, sensory, and learning behavior are to be found. This period is considered safer than the period of the embryo, but it is not completely free from hazard. The details of developmental process are as follows. But before, I have here an illustration of how fetal is developed. It develops gradually. 3 months after conception. So, 3 months ang pagkahuman sa pagpangala sa usa ka boros. Fetus is about 3 inches long. So, 3 inches ang iyang kataas and weight about 1 ounce. Fetus has become active. Move its arms, ilihok na niyang mga kamot, ang iyang legs, open and close its mouth, move its head, the face, forehead, eyelids, nose and lower hands, and nose and chin can now be distinguished, and also the upper arms, lower hands and lower limbs. The genital can now be identified as male or female. So ani nga time 3 months ma-identify na kung ang giburos sa usa ka mama is male or female but pinaagi sa ultrasound. So I have here a photo of a 3 months fetus in the womb of a mother. Next. 4 months after conception. Fetus is about 6 inches long, so nag 2 times ang iyang kataas from 3 months to 4 months. And weight 4 to 7 ounces. Growth spurt occurs in the body's feels arm and leg movements for the first times. So, performance na ang tiyan or ang fetus sa usa ka buros, didto na niya ma-feel ang first time nga paglihok sa baby sa iyahang tiyan. So I have here a photo of a 4-month fetus or baby in a womb of a mother. Next, 5 months after conception, fetus is about 14 inches long. So naginanay na siya og ka taas. Then weighs close to a pound. So dool na sa pounds ang iyang timbang. Structure of the skin. So na-develop na ang structure sa skin and fingernails. 2 nails have formed. Fetus is more active. So more active na ang fetus ani nga time. Then around 5 months, reflexes such as sucking, so mag-suck na siya, mag-anak siya iyang thumb. And then swallowing and hiccuping usually appear. During the 5th month and 22-week fetus weighs, so muna to, fetus weighs a little over 1 pound and 14 inches long. Okay. The fetus begins to show sensitivity of light. So, din na magbigin ang sensitivity sa light and can be stimulated and irritated from this point of word. That's why ang mga mama, ang mga burus usahay istoryahon nila ang baby sa ilahang tiyan kay ana nga time cope up na ang baby sa unsay ginaistorya sa iyang mama sa iya. Then napoy uban nga mag-play sila og nursery rhymes para sa ilahang baby. Then usahay ma-feel po dahil nila nga ang baby galihok-lihok sa ilahang tiyan mura ga interact sa music. Then I have here a photo of a 5 months baby. So this is how it looks. Then next, 6 months after conception, fetus is about 12 inches long and weighs 1.5 pounds. Eyes and eyelids are completely formed. Then fine layer of head covers the head. Grasping reflexes is presented and irregular movements occur. So I have here a sample photo of a fetus and a womb of a mother in 6 months. Next, 7 months after conception. Fetus is about 16 long, so taas na jud siya, and weight 3 pounds. So timbang na siya og 3 pounds. So during 7 months, the fetus, during this time, the brain continue to develop. So continue nag-develop ang brain sa fetus sa tiyan sa mama. Then, and increasingly prostate by 7 months, the fetus clearly responds. So, muna to, response na siya sa mga sound sa when the baby is in warm up the mother. Then develops the preferences of the tune and the rhythm of the mother's voice. So, muna to continuation siya sa from the 5th months. So I have here a photo of a 7 months baby and a warm up mother. This is how it looks like. Then lastly, the 8 and 9 months after conception, fetus grows longer and gains substantial weight, about 4 to 8 pounds. So, aning 8 months, as we see in a photo, the fetus has a little room for a large movement. So, gamay na lang ang iyang room para maglihok-lihok sa tiyan sa iyang mama. A layer fat that will added that will assess with temperature regulation. The lungs, however, are still very immature. If born at this time, will likely require to help breathing. it is not until the 9th month. So that's why usahay na ipanganak ani incubate siya kay dili pa kay siya ka survive and breathing outside the womb of the mother, kay dili pa gyud ang exact niya nga time nga mogawa siya sa womb sa iyahang mother. Then lastly, 9 months fetus in the womb of the mother. So we likely require to help breathing. It is not no. 9 months that the lungs are matured enough. So ani now, ang lungs matured enough na to regulate breathing and the room without the system. So during the last month of gestation, the baby continues to grow at the rate of about half to 1 pound per week. The lungs preparing in the preparation for the first breath. The baby were their turn around. So as you see in the photo, the baby has turned around preparing for the delivery. So this is the photo of a 9-month baby in a womb of a mother. That ends for our topic for a prenatal period. But before that, let me end this discussion with a message which I read from the internet, that babies start dreaming even before they are born. That's all. Thank you and God bless.